All right. Hello to anyone out there who may be watching this. Whoever you are, wherever you are, whenever you're watching this, thank you for taking the time to click on the video. So currently it is about 10 p.m. on Sunday, June 11th, 10 p.m. Central Time, by the way. And today at 4 p.m. Central Time, Microsoft had its E3 2017 press conference. And this morning, I kind of decided I wanted to do this video because out of all the E3 conferences, and we still have several more coming up, like five or six, this one in particular I was the most excited for and most anticipating. Um, so I'm just going to go through and give my reaction to the conference after watching it. And let me also say that during the conference and since the conference has ended, I have not looked up any reaction videos. I've stayed off social media. Um, and I haven't even really gone online. I'm just trying to avoid it so that my reactions for this video can be authentic to me and and I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I'm forgetting before I start breaking down the conference. Um, and like I said, it is about 6 hours after the conference started right now. The reason why I didn't do a reaction right when the conference ended is because I had a few things going on. So I'm doing this reaction right now. Again, did not look online, stayed out of chat rooms, social media, and stuff. So these are all my genuine reactions. And also, because a few hours have passed, if any details from the conference have been talked about more or clarified since it has ended, my apologies because I haven't gone online to look at these updates. But hopefully, there hasn't been too many of them yet. Okay, so um, I've got like 7 pages of notes right here that I took while I was watching the conference. So I'm just going to go give a rundown on what I liked, what I didn't like, what surprised me. Um, and yeah, so let me first start by saying the conference was 1 hour and 43 minutes. And they started off the conference with talking about Xbox One X, which is the official name for their new hardware coming out this year that was originally titled Project Scorpio. Um, I am a fan of Kind of Funny in their content, and a joke that they always made when the Switch was getting ready to come out, but before we knew it was called the Switch, was X Gon' Give It to You, like the DMX song. And that's like one of the first things that popped into my mind when they said the title of this being Xbox One X. I'm not sure how I feel about the title yet. I do think Xbox One Elite would have been better, and maybe even Scorpio would have been better than this, but it's just a name. So um, it's going to be launching on November 7th, 2017. The price point is going to be $499. I think that's probably a fair price point. 449 might have been better, but um, I definitely thought it was more likely to be 500 than 400. And I didn't think that they would want to release multiple versions of the Xbox One X because they already have the Xbox One, the Xbox One S. So now if they have the Xbox One X with multiple versions and different price points, it would just confuse things. So the 499 price point makes sense to me. Um, all of the Xbox One games and accessories are going to be backwards compatible on this new hardware. They're going to have visual updates, faster load times. This is all great news. It's also going to be the smallest Xbox ever. They did not say the exact measurement details for how small it's going to be, but they did show it in the picture next to the Xbox One S, and the X looked a lot smaller. So that's how Microsoft opened their conference, was talking about this hardware. They didn't spend too long on it, actually. It was only about 5 or 10 minutes. And then they said, we're going to get right into the games. So the first thing that they showed was Forza Motorsport 7, which makes sense that they're going to be heavily pushing this with Xbox One X to kind of show off the visual performance and the fidelity of that. They brought a car out on stage. Not surprising. It's like an endorsement with Porsche that they're trying to show at the conference. The footage for Forza 7 looks insane in terms of visually how stunning it is, but that's also to be expected. I was expecting it to look fantastic, and it definitely did. Just like the lighting and the effects and the weather patterns and stuff, it all looked very realistic and very cool. Forza Motorsport 7 is coming out October 3rd of 2017. Um, and yeah, they just showed kind of a gameplay trailer for just like 5 minutes or so. Um, the next thing that they said, and this was kind of surprising, is they said for the rest of the conference, they're going to be talking about 42 games, and 22 of them are going to be console exclusives. And let me just say that as an overall feature of this conference, I would say they showed a lot of games, obviously, because they made that promise right there. They had a lot of indie support. A lot of the games emphasize co-op, it seems like, and for those reasons, they almost looked at this conference how Sony has looked in recent years, showing games, 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 and that was surprising considering we have the Xbox One X coming out this year, new hardware. You would think they would spend a little more time talking about it, but throughout the conference they showed so many games, which was kind of a surprise to me. The first game that they showed, they did not say the title until the end of the gameplay trailer, and it was Metro Exodus, which is a new game in the Metro series. It's not coming out until 2018. It didn't say early 2018 either, so this game's not coming anytime soon. When they showed it, I noticed, okay, this is a survival horror, first-person shooter, post-apocalyptic type of theme. You were fighting like a lot of different creatures and beasts. Um, and Metro was actually my first guess when the trailer was shown because they were going through these dark tunnels and it was a first-person shooter. Singularity also came to mind. And before this game was shown, Phil Spencer was on stage and he said they're bringing back a series that had a great story on Xbox last generation. So it kind of got me thinking about what the game could be, and it's Metro Exodus. Um, and it was just 2 or 3 minutes of gameplay. We couldn't figure out anything in terms of the story or the characters. Again, this game is not coming anytime soon, but it is exclusive to Xbox, which is kind of new for the Metro series. At least for the last Metro that came out, which was Last Light in 2013, that was multi-platform. So this is a good get for Microsoft. I was pretty excited, but there's more that we have to see as the game gets closer to release. The next game that they showed was Assassin's Creed Origins. They did a trailer, and then a guy came out on stage to talk about it and showed gameplay. And it is alpha gameplay is what was shown in the screen. They added some new elements. It looks like they're emphasizing more on RPG stuff for this game. And there's level up features with your character itself and then with the weapons and items that you have. So it does look like this is new for the Assassin's Creed series. I haven't played an Assassin's Creed in recent years, but to me this seems new, and it makes sense considering they took a year off to kind of regroup and figure out where they want to go next with the series. Another feature was you could play as your bird that you had, and you can kind of float in the sky and like scan the area and kind of spy to plan and strategize how you're gonna like take over a room or something like that. Kind of reminded me of like the detective mode in like the Batman Arkham series. So these are all cool things. And yeah, the game looks stunning. Assassin's Creed Origins is going to come out October 27th, 2017. That's the release date. The next game they talked about was PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, which um, was a PC game. It still is a PC game, but they announced that it's going to be coming exclusively to Xbox One in late 2017. It's kind of like a multiplayer only game that came out earlier this year on PC with beta access. So this is a good get from Microsoft that they were able to put this in their conference and show that, hey, it is coming to Xbox at least first, if not only to Xbox. So that's going to be coming out. The next game they showed was Deep Rock Galactic, which I don't know how I feel about that name. That's kind of a bad name. It doesn't really roll off the tongue. But this is another exclusive Xbox One game. It kind of had like a blocky art style. It looked like a little bit like Team Fortress 2, and actually very similar to the VR game Farpoint, because a lot of the enemies look like insect kind of, just like that game. And they did emphasize co-op. This was just a very quick trailer, and there was no release date given either. So, but that's okay. It is an indie looking game. There'll be more to come in the future, I'm sure. The next game they showed was State of Decay 2, which we knew was going to be at this conference. It looks amazing. Just from the trailer, it had a lot of character interactions, and it kind of gave me like Walking Dead story vibes. Um, and there was a couple monsters in there that looked like they were from Left 4 Dead. They were these like boomer guys that kind of exploded into goo when the character shot them. So the release date for this is going to be spring 2018. I'm curious to see more of the game mechanics because so far we've only really seen like trailers, and I'm curious to see how much has changed from the first game. But just based on these trailers, it looks amazing, but we'll have to see in the future if it continues to look amazing as more details unfold. The next game they talked about was called The Darwin Project, which the name makes sense with the content of the game because it looks like it kind of looks like an indie version of Overwatch, this kind of multiplayer arena game. They showed some of the gameplay, and a guy actually came out on stage to like commentate over it, and it sounded like an esports commentary. Like he was very enthusiastic about it. And this one is an Xbox One exclusive. The reason the name kind of works was because it looked like survival of the fittest. That's how I think they got the name, the Darwin Project. So curious to see more of this game. There was no release date for this one either, so we'll have to wait and see. The next thing they talked about was Minecraft. There's just going to be more updates for the game this summer and this fall. They're releasing the Super Duper Graphics Pack, which is a very silly name. And they said in fall there's going to be an update that you can play the game in 4K, which is kind of funny because the graphics in the game are, people make fun of it as being like so like cheap blocky graphics. So the fact that they're emphasizing 4K is kind of funny to me, but yeah. And they also said you can cross play with other players on all different platforms, so mobile, VR, PC, and different consoles. You'll be able to play with players no matter which type of system they're playing on, which is kind of cool. They're just uniting across the consoles. They said something about, actually, never mind. That was a spare note that I don't think actually happened. The next game that they showed was Dragon Ball Fighter Z, which is based on the Dragon Ball series. It looks like a fighting game, kind of like Street Fighter. It looked really cool. They had like this electric guitar solo music going on, and it looked very hype. They emphasized 3 versus 3 matches, which I guess is pretty cool, and it's coming out early 2018. Again, it looks great. I'm not really a fan of Dragon Ball or Naruto. I just never really watched it. But it looked really cool from what I saw. The next game they talked about was called Black Desert, an Xbox One exclusive, coming early 2018. And I didn't really get much info on this. It kind of looks, it is an MMO RPG. It looked a little bit like Fable at first, and then a little bit like Diablo. This was another game that emphasized co-op. So yeah, MMORPG. We'll learn more in the future. The next game they showed was called The Last Night, which is an Xbox One exclusive. It had this kind of indie art style. And if anyone out there is a Kind of Funny fan, the art style for it looked kind of similar to the like intro video from for Kind of Funny's Game Over Greggy show with this like weird animation kind of style. It was a very quick trailer. I don't really have any idea what it is. Um, and I believe this was the game. No, wait. This is the next game I'm gonna talk about is what I'm thinking of. But yeah, that was called The Last Night. The next game is called The Artful Escape. It's an Xbox One console launch exclusive. It looks ridiculous. Like it was kind of this guy like floating on some sort of creature in the air, and there was like this like loud music coming in the background. The environments kind of looked like Journey in terms of how beautiful it was. It was just a very quick trailer, and then at the end it said "coming when it's damn ready," um, which is funny because they're kind of playing off the fact that well we don't know when it's going to come out. Um, and it reminded me just in terms of how it had like charisma and this unique style and kind of this funny tone it was going for. It reminded me of the PlayStation game called Let It Die, which is this game with like this Grim Reaper guy like on a skateboard, and it had like funny jokes in it and stuff. So that's what the Artful Escape reminded me of. The next game that they showed was called Code Vein, all one word. It was a very quick trailer. I didn't catch much of it. No in-game gameplay really. It said coming 2018. Looked a little bit like Ninja Gaiden at first, but then it looked very Japanese, kind of like Final Fantasy-ish. So we'll see more. Then they talked about Sea of Thieves. They spent a good amount of time on this one, maybe 10 minutes or so. And it was a gameplay trailer. And this kind of shows my ignorance to this game. I didn't even realize it was in first person. I thought it was like kind of a isometric like 3D game, like top down. Um, Throughout this gameplay demo, they were trying to go for a lot of funny jokes and stuff. Like there was one point where the character jumped into the water and was going down and looking for something, and the guy commentating on it, who sounded like a character in the game, he said, "Anything can be down there. We haven't finished designing it yet." And that's kind of funny, but it's also a little bit alarming because this game should be close to done by now. Um, the game does look like it has some depth, which I know a lot of people were concerned about coming into it. Um, you were exploring underwater. There was like this riddle map where you can like read riddles and it tells you like where to go, kind of like a quest log or something like that. You can go to different outposts to find treasure after some time in the game. And then as the game went on, or as the demo went on, there was a lot of cool like music cues. It was very orchestral, and it kind of sounded like like God of War music meets like Pirates of the Caribbean, Hans Zimmer, just this really cool music. Um, and there was also this feature where you could shoot out of cannons to like launch yourself like hundreds of yards across the environment, which looked really cool. The game Sea of Thieves is coming early 2018, which is probably going to surprise some people. I know a lot of people thought that game was going to be out in the next few months because we've heard about it for so long, but early 2018. I'm I'm not too excited for this game, to be honest. Um, I could be wrong. It might be a big hit, but it just didn't like grab me. They did a brief trailer for Tacoma. Shout out to Steve Gaynor. It's gonna be exclusively on Xbox. It's coming August 2nd, and it was just like a very quick trailer. The next game that they showed was called Super Lucky's Tale, which it was a world premiere on Xbox's stage. It was an exclusive. It is just like a new mascot 3D platformer, kind of like Crash or Banjo, like those old late 90s, early 2000s 3D platformers. And there were some parts that they showed in the gameplay where the camera kind of shifted to 2D as opposed to 3D, and you were going horizontally across the map. Um, and it just seems like a really cute game. Probably not like a ton of like emphasis on story and stuff, but it still looks kind of cool. It's coming out November 7th, 2017. Again, that's the same date that the Xbox One X comes out. Then they moved on to Cuphead, which is going to be coming out September 29th. It is an exclusive, and that's basically all they talked about. We know a lot about Cuphead, so we're just waiting for it to come out. Okay, then they talked about Crackdown 3. Now, this was weird. So they opened up presenting Crackdown 3 with a real life actor in a Crackdown suit, just hyping up the game and talking about, you know, going out there and like doing whatever you're going to be doing in the game, like saving the world. Like, come on, put on your suit and go do this. The actor looked like Terry Crews, the African American actor. I don't know if that was him, but it was just really random that they started off the presentation this way. But that only lasted like a minute, and then they got into the actual gameplay. Um, but overall, they only spent like a few minutes on Crackdown 3, which was surprising to me because we haven't seen this game in so long. I thought they were gonna show a lot, like at least like 10 minutes on this game, but they didn't show much at all. They did emphasize like 4-player co-op. It seems like they were showing like 4 different characters doing different things, so there might be a co-op aspect to that. But I was really surprised that they only spent like a few minutes on this, especially because the game is coming out November 7th of 2017. And we haven't seen that game in a while, so that's surprising. Okay, the next thing that they showed was like a game montage where they just went through like 15, actually more than 15. It was like almost 20 games in like a minute. It was just like very quick game montage. A lot of them looked like indie games. I didn't get most of the titles of the games. Some of the ones that looked interesting was there was like a basketball game with monsters that were like dunking, and it looked very arcadey like the NBA Street games. There was some game called like Conan colon something that was like one of the final games they ended with. It looked pretty cool. There was a game called Dark and Lights. So it was just this indie game montage, and it's not surprising that they did this because at the beginning they said we're going to talk about 42 games for this conference, so they had to do a montage at some point. They're not going to be spending a few minutes on all 42 games. The next game that they showed was called Ashen, which is an Xbox exclusive. There's no release date. Can't really tell what it is. I don't even remember what was kind of shown for this game. So yeah, we'll just learn more in the future. Again, that game was called Ashen. They did a world premiere of a game by Square Enix, and just looking at the trailer, they didn't say the name of the game until the end of the trailer, and to me, I was copying down some notes. It looked like kind of a coming of age story. The girl reminded me a little bit of Ellie from The Last of Us, but at the end, it was revealed that this is called Life is Strange Before the Storm. It's going to be episode 1 of 3, and it's coming out August 31st this year. So obviously, if I had played Life of Strange before, or Life is Strange, I would have picked up on the trailer right away, but I couldn't tell what it was until they showed the title. Next game they talked about was Middle Earth: Shadow of War. Um, I mean, it looks really cool. There was that 15-minute gameplay trailer that we saw um, earlier this year. That one was awesome, and this one was pretty cool too. But one thing I will say, there was this orc in the trailer. His name was Bruz, Bruz, and it just really solidified in my mind the fact that the voice acting in this game is so weird, where it's like these English accents. It's like orcs saying like bloody and mate, and yeah, it was kind of weird to see like an orc doing that. Because I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan. I grew up like watching the movies and stuff, and it has been a little while since I've seen the movies, but I feel like the voice acting was not like that weird where there's these orcs like talking like they're British or Australian or something like that. It was kind of weird. But anyway, the combat looks very smooth. It There were a few moments where the combat reminded me a little bit of like the old school hack and slash Lord of the Rings games on like PlayStation 2. Um, and yeah, the orc made a comment about black speech, which I'm assuming that's not a race thing, but again, that was another weird part of the dialogue. They said there's going to be new areas, and the game is coming out October 10th, 2017. Within the last couple of weeks, we saw that they were pushing back the release date of the game. It was supposed to come out in August. Now it's coming out in October, which is fine. That's still very soon, actually. The next game they showed was an exclusive world premiere. They did not say the title of the game until the end of the trailer, but it was kind of obvious to me what the game was. This guy was on stage playing a piano, and the game looked so beautiful. It had beautiful music, beautiful art, and in my mind, I was like, this has to be a sequel to Ori and the Blind Forest, just based on the art style and stuff. And of course, it was. And the name of the game is Ori and the Will of the Wisper. Long title, but yeah, that's what the game is called. It was very emotional and had like, this very emotional and moving vibe to it. I never played Ori. I haven't played a lot of games that have come out in recent years, but that game looked so beautiful just on its own, that first game. So we're going to be seeing more of it. Very happy to see that they're doing a sequel. Phil Spencer came back out on stage after this and said that up until this point, there have been 385 backwards compatible games with the Xbox One. And they said later this year, they're going to be bringing original Xbox games that will be backwards compatible with Xbox One. One example they mentioned was Crimson Skies. This is great news. There's so many 360 games that are backwards compatible, and just going even farther back into the library to bring original Xbox games. That's very cool. And let's see here. They mentioned something about the Xbox One S, not the X, the S, being $249. I forget if they said that was happening like now or very soon, or if that's going to be later this holiday, but they did mention a $249 price point. And then they closed the show with Anthem, which is a game that was teased yesterday at EA's conference. And I was not expecting them to close the show with this, but once I saw that they were going to close it, I was like, okay, now we're in for, a big deal right here. Like, this looks like it's going to be really cool. It's a BioWare game. The guy who was on stage presenting yesterday for EA, he came out, and the game looks awesome. In terms of visuals, some of them like it was so beautiful to see the character gliding through the forest on like a jetpack. The environments look amazing, and like the lighting and the weather effects, it all looks so stunning to me. Um, as far as story goes, we didn't learn too much. It said something about you and your friends are like freelancers. So you're kind of like younger guys, it seems like. You have these exosuits that are called javelins, which kind of reminded me of Titanfall, wearing, well, actually, I don't know, because like I haven't played Titanfall either, but it seems like those are like big mechs. These were more like suits, as opposed to these big hulking mechs. But just like Titanfall, they're like cruising around, flying everywhere. Um, they said something about the game being open world, and the game actually looks a lot like Lost Planet to me, but a lot better, just from this trailer. Um, and especially with the over-the-shoulder camera angle, or even something like Vanquish, where it's like this very fast-paced movement and stuff. They mentioned that you're gonna be like doing these like specific missions, where it kind of reminds me of like raids, like in Destiny. There's gonna be like XP upgrades and looting and stuff. Very cool. There was an emphasis on co-op, and this was a game that they spent some time on. Again, like 10 minutes or so. Um, and they said it's coming in 2018. Um, so that was a great a great closing for the conference, was with Anthem. Now, just a very quick recap. I was very surprised that they did not talk about Halo. Well, maybe not very surprised, but definitely at least a little bit surprised, because Halo is so big with Microsoft. We knew that they were not going to show Halo 6, but I thought they were going to show like some sort of thing with Scorpio, maybe doing Halo VR. There was no talk about VR either. Um, and there wasn't really any talk about the Xbox Game Pass, which I believe they kind of launched, or they first started talking about earlier this year. And I was expecting them to bring up the Xbox Game Pass, but they did. I don't think they really did that. I might have missed it, but I didn't hear that. So again, no talk about any sort of Halo, like VR Halo. That was surprising. The fact that they didn't talk about Crackdown for more than like a couple minutes, that was surprising to me. Um, but yeah, just recapping, um, not including the almost 20 games that they showed in that montage in the middle of the conference. There's going to be 9 new releases coming out in 2017. Um, and I guess I'll just, you know what? No, I won't run through them because I talked about them earlier, and you can look them up at this point. But there's 9 new releases coming out in 2017. We'll see how many of those actually come out. There's definitely going to be some delays, I'm sure. 10 releases if you include these Minecraft updates, but for new releases we have 9. There's 7 games that are coming out in 2018. 3 or 4 of those, so about half, are going to be coming early 2018, and the rest don't have like a specific like month or time frame. And then there are 6 games that have unknown release dates, at least as of the very end of the conference. Those games were Deep Rock Galactic, The Darwin Project, The Last Night, The Artful Escape, Ashen, and Ori and the Will of the Whisper. So those games we don't know release dates for. Overall, this conference was great. I was surprised at how many games they showed, considering the fact that they have new hardware coming out this November. So that was pretty surprising to me. It was actually impressive that they were able to answer so many questions that we had coming into the conference about the hardware. And they did it in a very concise manner. Release date, price point, everything that you have on Xbox One is going to like be able to be carried over to the new system, your accessories, and they even got into the nitty gritty of the specs. Of course, they did the teraflops and stuff like that. But yeah, this conference was great. I don't know if it was as good as last year's, because last year's they really killed it. If it's not as good as last year's, I would say it's very close to being. And just based on how the conference was, emphasizing these indie games especially, um, they looked a little bit like Sony has in recent years. Um, and yeah, that's basically all I have to say about the Microsoft conference. I'm very glad that I took down a bunch of notes that I could use for making this video. I don't know if I'm going to do this with any of the other conferences. If I do, it'll be for Sony. That's the other one I'm pretty excited about. And then maybe Nintendo too, but we'll see with timing. But those are my reactions to the Microsoft press conference. Again, haven't looked at any of the reaction videos, or I haven't seen any chat room, or like I haven't been in any chat rooms while the conference was going or after the conference, so I have no idea how people are perceiving these games, if they're doing it similar or differently to me. But yeah, these are my impressions of the games. Comment down below what you thought about Microsoft's conference if you watched it. And yeah, that's basically it. I hope everyone out there is doing well. Have a great day, have a great week, have a great month, have a great year, have a great life. Very excited that we're in E3 right now. It's very entertaining. And yeah, that's basically it. We'll see if I make another one of these videos. But until next time, peace out.